Well, moving on to federal politics now, the Prime Minister has delivered impassioned plea for Australians to back the Indigenous voice as he accuses Peter Dutton of amplifying misinformation. Let's bring in Trudy McIntosh in Canberra. Trudy, just explain for us the significance surrounding the timing of that speech we saw a little earlier.
Well, Ash, tomorrow marks the 6th anniversary of the Uluru Statement from the Heart. Now, this is what's set in train this process, which the Prime Minister is now following to try and enshrine an Indigenous voice to Parliament in the Constitution. All week in the House, we've been seeing this debate over the exact wording of the proposed constitutional amendment, and up this morning it was the Prime Minister's turn. We know that the support for the Yes campaign has been sliding in the published polls. Anthony Albanese trying to turn that around, arguing that the voice will actually make a real difference to try and close the gap.
Imagine that you stand on the other side of the gap. Imagine your son statistically more likely to go to jail than to go to university. Imagine that people in your community are twice as likely to commit suicide. This referendum is about two things and two things only: recognition and listening. It is the means to the end. The end is about closing the gap.
During the speech, the Prime Minister made it clear he will not be changing the wording of the proposed amendment, that to do so would, in his words, would undermine the work of Indigenous leaders. But he also used this as a pretty big attack on opposition leader Peter Dutton, circling back to the arguments that Mr Dutton made in the chamber that this will divide Australia by race. This was the Prime Minister's reply.
Indeed, the Leader of the Opposition gave a speech in this chamber that is simply unworthy of the alternative Prime Minister of this nation. And in his desperation, the Leader of the Opposition is now seeking to amplify this misinformation and all of its catastrophising and contradictions.
All MPs get to have their say on this piece of legislation. That's why it's taking so long. The final vote is not likely until next week now, and then the Senate get to do this exact same process, but that won't happen, Ash, until mid-June.
Trudy, thank you.